This is our first time presenting together. So if we fumble, just laugh at us. It's okay. We've done a few rehearsals, so I hope we get the message across really well today, which is the real fear of AI in L&D and how we're trying to help address that. And we're going to go into that today. So I am the CRO and the co-founder of Edplay. This is my colleague.
My name is Viktor, and I'm the CEO of Edplay, and I'm heading the product.
Perfect. Okay, so before we get into this, we just want to talk about things that might land differently for different people in this room. Some of you might find it quite exciting. Some of you might find it uncomfortable. Although typically the conversations that we've had throughout the stand, everyone's been very welcoming and open to AI technology. And we're not here to tell you how to feel about AI, but we're here just to have an honest conversation about it, what it actually means for the work that you do. And all we ask is that you keep an open mind. What you walk away thinking will be obviously entirely up to you. So before we want you to make a decision based entirely on what you feel around the subject matter and not just your existing experiences.
There is a pattern worth naming before we go any further. Every time something significant changes, the same three groups show up in any industry, in any profession. So let's do a little exercise here. At first, I will explain to you what these three groups are, and then you can raise your hand if you feel that you belong to a specific group. So let's have a look at the first one.
Keep your phone away.
Better. So we have early adopters. They are already curious, already experimenting. For them, today is all about going further and faster. Please raise your hand if you feel that you belong to an early adopter group. Okay, we've got a couple. Thank you, guys. Then we have evidence-driven adopters. They're not resistant, but careful. They need to see it working before they commit. They want proof. They want to understand it properly. For them, today is all about building real confidence. Please raise your hand if you feel like you belong to the second group. Seems like a lot more. Thank you, guys. Finally, we have late-stage resistors. For them, change feels deeply personal, not because they are wrong to feel that way, but because fear hasn't been properly named or addressed yet. For them, today is all about taking that fear seriously. So please raise your hand if you feel you are a late-stage resistor. Good to know.
We don't like you.
Such a great audience. Thank you, guys. So some of you will agree with everything we say. Some of you will push back. And some of you, if we're being honest, might think that we are completely wrong. All we're asking is this. Please stay with us. Let it all sink in before you decide, and then make up your mind.
So just to start with, is that slide 4, Victor? Just to start with something honest, the real fear around AI in learning and development, I don't think it's the technology. We feel it's actually the identity that it's taking, because for a lot of people in this room, the training you create, it's not just an output, it's a reflection of you, your creativity, your thinking, your personal standards. And when AI shows up and says, I can build a course in just a couple of minutes, it doesn't feel like something necessarily useful. It feels like it could be coming for your job. And almost every conversation we have comes down to two things. First is, I don't believe that it can do it properly. And if it can do it properly, what happens to me? Okay? And both of those fears are completely valid. And it's not because the technology is dangerous, it's because this isn't really about the software. It's about whether the thing that you've spent years and years getting good at is still recognized as important. And that's a question that we think is worth taking seriously. And everything we're going to show you today, including our own platform, Edplay, it starts with that premise. Not how do we replace learning and development professionals, but how do we make sure the fear that you might be feeling right now turns into something exciting.
We've actually been here before when e-learning first arrived. The early days, when we had CDs, pixelated videos, clunky interfaces, people in this profession asked exactly the same questions. How can online training replace the classroom? What happens to trainers? Will the quality drop? Does it sound familiar? And what actually happened? L&D didn't shrink, it exploded. 20 people at a time became thousands. Scheduled classrooms became online sessions, available anytime, anywhere. Local training delivery became global reach. And the professionals who adapted, who learned the new tools and new methods, they didn't lose relevance. They became more valuable because when delivery got easier, the value of the profession shifted upward. Away from presenting content, more towards designing better experiences, solving real business problems, and creating impact at scale. That is exactly where we are again now. Same pattern, same fear, same opportunity, only this time the pace is a lot faster, which means we have less time to think and sit on the fence. But here's what makes this moment different from when e-learning arrived. The existing system is already failing. 67% of training managers struggle to demonstrate impact to leadership, and almost half of employees admit to speed clicking through compliance training. And the people responsible for fixing that, they know it's not working. But Edplay is the tool we've built for this moment, specifically for L&D teams who need to scale the output without sacrificing the standard of learning that they've spent years building.
So let's be really clear about what AI is actually doing, because there's an important distinction that gets lost in most of these conversations. AI is not replacing your skill, it is just replacing your time. And that's a very different thing. AI can take you from a blank page with no outline or structure to a usable first draft in minutes. It can give you the learning objectives, it can give you the structure, the starting point, but here's what that really is. That is just the first 80%, the scaffolding or the skeleton, right? So the real value, the real part that determines whether it changes behavior lives in that final 20%. So your context, your experience, your judgment, your storytelling, relevance to your specific people, your culture, your risks, that's the part that AI cannot take away, because that's the part that comes from knowing your organization and your learners. So instead of spending hours building that first 80%, you can spend your time and energy perfecting the 20% that makes the training great. But let's be specific about what that 20% looks like in an organization, because it's not just the finishing touches, it's deciding what learning needs to happen in the first place. It's understanding where the business is going and what skills people need to get there. It's preparing your workforce not just for today's challenges, but for the ones coming in 12 months. It's knowing which capability gaps are affecting the business right now. That is organizational strategy, and AI cannot do that alone. Okay, so the hours spent building a course from scratch, from formatting slides, writing objectives, structuring modules, that was never what made you valuable in your business. What makes you valuable is knowing what the business needs to learn and actually making sure that it happens. And AI gives you that for the first time, and probably or arguably for the first time. And to put that into numbers, as you can see on the screen here, between 80 and 180 hours is what it takes to build one usable interactive e-learning course, and 40 to 50% reduction in time on production tasks when AI is applied. And that's not a marginal improvement. That's the difference between learning and development being buried in production and learning and development having space to think. And that's exactly what Edplay is built around. It's the first 80% structure that's ready to refine, so you can bring the final 20% that only you can provide. So here's where it gets a little bit uncomfortable, because AI doesn't just help learning and development professionals build training faster. It also means that anyone in the business can start contributing to learning. Subject matter experts, team leaders, organizational managers, and they can now produce something that looks and functions like a course. So the question I hear, and one I suspect some of you are thinking right now, if everyone can build learning, where's my value?
I think it's a fair question. And the honest answer is your value goes up. Just because anyone can build something doesn't mean that anyone can build something that works. Let's think about an example. If we have a manufacturing engineer who needs to change a process or update how their team operates, they know the subject really well, inside out, but they have no idea how to build effective online training. So what happens? They do their best. They prepare a PDF, a quick video, they prepare some document that gets emailed around, and who suffers? Well, the staff are the ones who suffer because their expertise never translates into something that actually teaches. That's not a people's problem, it's a tool's problem. So we're giving people like that engineer a way to deliver what they know. Deep, genuine, hard-learned expertise and amplify it across the business in less time with real learning quality. Basically, anyone can put content into a course builder, but not anyone can design learning that changes behavior. That's your job, not the production. You set the standard. When more people in the business are creating content, and of course there will be, someone has to make sure that it has the right audience, the right learning outcomes, and the right impact. That's not a smaller role for L&D. That is a more important one. In Edplay, unlimited people across your business can contribute to your knowledge. But the platform guides them through conversational prompts to make sure that what they build has learning quality. Right audience, right outcomes, right impact. L&D doesn't lose control. L&D sets the standard. Let's talk about your learners for a moment. Because there is something happening in every company right now that most L&D teams haven't fully reckoned with. Your people are already using AI at work, not in a controlled way, not in your platform, on their phones, in their browsers, between meetings. When they have a question about a process, a policy, a product, a customer situation, what do? Well, they go to ChatGPT, they go to Gemini, and they ask that question. They don't want to go and sit through a 30-minute SCORM course. They're not searching inside the LMS. 75% of global workforce now use generative AI at work. 78% of those users are bringing their own AI completely outside of AI IT control. And it's not connected to your training. It's just generic knowledge from the public, from the internet. It's not specific to your business, or it's not using your company policies or standards. Just open internet. That's not a small group of early adopters. That's the majority of your workforce. And if they can't get a trusted answer quickly, one of three things happens. They guess, they interrupt a colleague who also doesn't know, or they use a public AI tool that has no idea what your business does, what your policies are, or what your standards require. That's the real risk. Not the people that use AI, but the fact that they use AI without those guardrails. And then they act on those answers that sound plausible and which might be completely wrong for your context. So we get inconsistent behavior, we get compliance exposure, we get completely avoidable mistakes, all because the right answer wasn't available to them at the right time when they needed it. Our goal is to make sure that when they get there, they get the right answer. This is LEA. LEA stands for Learning Intelligence Assistant inside Edplay. It's available to every learner inside the course, and it's connected to your approved knowledge base, trained on your policies and on your data. The learner gets an answer in plain language, And it's all based on your business, specific to what you do. Not the open internet, not some generic model. It's all based on your content, surfaced in the moment when it's actually needed. This is what looks like when AI is working for your company and not against it.
So let's talk about what you see as a learning and development manager. For years, learning and development reporting has looked something like this: who attended, who completed the course, who passed it, percentages, checkboxes, and compliance reports. And look, that data mattered, and in some contexts, it still does matter. But here's the problem. A team can have 100% compliance in an LMS and still have enormous knowledge gaps. They completed the training. That does not mean that they understood it, applied it, retained it, used it correctly when something real happened in the business. It simply tells you that someone clicked through a module and passed the quiz. It tells you nothing about where they struggled and the gaps that left in their knowledge. And this isn't a new problem. 70% of organizations say that they're not good at using learning data to make business decisions. And 29% don't measure or evaluate learning programs at all. That's not because the work doesn't matter, it's because they never had access to the right data. So if completion data isn't enough, what does good reporting look like? This is what Leah surfaces for you. It shows you where people are struggling, what questions people are asking the most during the training, and what topics are generating confusion after the training. And based on all of that, what you should focus on next. So instead of asking, did they complete it? You're asking, where is my sales team struggling right now? And you're getting an answer. This is a shift from L&D as a compliance function to L&D as a performance intelligence function. Same team, same mission, completely different level of strategic impact. That is what Leah does. It's not just a way of building training faster, it's a way to know for the first time whether it's actually working.
Before we finish off today, one thing from both of us as founders. Every decision we've made building Edplay has come back to one question. Are we protecting how learning gets made? Or are we improving how people actually learn? Those are not the same thing. When they're in tension, we should choose the second one.
So when we strip all this back, this isn't really a question as to whether or not AI belongs in learning and development. That decision has already made for us by the world around us. And the only real question is whether we use it deliberately to help people improve and learn. So are we going to protect how learning and development works today, or are we going to try and improve how people learn? Because our responsibility is not to defend old production methods. Our responsibility is to create the best possible learning experiences for our people. And for learning and development, it is no longer physically possible to deliver the volume, the relevance, the speed, and the quality that organizations now expect. And this isn't replacing people, it's about raising the standard. AI will not replace great learning and development professionals, but the ones who use it will replace the ones that don't. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So just before we finish up, I do have a couple stories, and we'll actually show you a quick video of Edplay as well. So my father, he's an engineering manager, a big company. He types with 2 fingers. He has 40 years of knowledge around manufacturing contact lenses, okay? He cannot build learning content. Part of his role requires him to build learning content. He can produce 1 page of learning by typing it, and it takes him an hour, okay? Someone like that, that's just an industry expert, has core knowledge in their head, doesn't know how to build real training in a platform. You can give them Articulate, they're not going to know how to build it. But with this tool, Edplay, that individual can now put a process, an SOP, a guide, a skill, something inside of the product, and it will create an output that they can then read. They can make sure it delivers the right information in the right way, that's understandable, and then give that to the organization to help improve a skill or process in their business. Before, they would have just done a PowerPoint, or they might have put in some notes together, but now they've got an interactive, measurable course that can be put into the existing infrastructure Our courses can be played in any LMS globally. They can be played within our system. We have direct APIs. We plug into all the latest LLMs. So any new advances in AI technology that are happening in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years, our system will consistently be updated to those latest standards. Okay? Before we show you the video, it's only 90 seconds and some music, so it's fun. Are there any questions that anyone here has about what we've said? Maybe any fears that we've brought up, any relevance that it might have had to you, or things you want to ask us about the tool?
Thank you. Can you talk more about like how Leah analyzes the struggle of learners and feed into decisions? Thank you.
It's a really good question. I probably should have covered that in the presentation. So there's two sides to Leah. There's an admin side to Leah, which if you are looking at reporting from an admin organizational perspective, it's going to understand what questions are getting answered wrong throughout an entire course, across every department, across an entire organization. So if you were to roll out, for example, to a sales team, objection handling skill set for specific things in your business, and 70% of people were getting various different questions wrong, it would say your team are struggling to do price conditioning. Lots of them are getting this information wrong. We suggest building a course here related to handling that specific issue. It could be a manufacturing process. It could be something with anti-money laundering for the sales team to talk about. It could be in customer service. But when you talk to Leah from an admin perspective, it will give you insights into all of the answers they've given inside all of the training for all time across the entire organization. So you can get real learning data, okay, not just a tick box compliance. From a user side, when a user goes into a course, they can then just ask questions relevant to that course to get further information. Maybe questions that they would be scared to ask a manager because they're quite stupid. They feel like they should know the answer, but they're scared to reach out. So they might go to Google, they might go to AI, but neither of those are trained on your subject matter. They don't work for you. They might get misinformation, but now they can talk to the course and get their questions answered in the time of learning. We are at M45, by the way. It's just over there in the corner. So if anyone wants to come and try the tool, build some content with us, we can give you access, free tokens, whatever you need, and it's a fun spinny wheel where you can win an iPad. So if anything, I'll appeal to your greed, and you can come and try and win an iPad. But yes, lots of course credits, the system's over there, the video's over there. M45, if you want to come and speak to Viktor, myself, Grace at the back here, which has been our, our videographer for today's talk. We've got lots of people on the stand that are willing to help you. And if you do have specific questions that you maybe don't want to ask me now, you can surface them over there, okay? Was there anyone else that wanted to ask a question before we showed you the final video? Don't be scared. Okay, we'll go ahead with the video. I hope you enjoyed that lovely video. We finished it one day before the event. But again, if anyone wants to ask us some questions, try the tool, get some free access. We give you loads of tokens just to go home and play and build content. We're on M45, just over there. And like I said, if you do want to win an iPad, there's a spinning wheel. And only 8 people have landed on the draw so far. So if you do
still
get
have a
it,
chance.
there's still a high chance of taking an iPad off of us. It's his child's iPad. So we'll hand over. Thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.